The rain-slicked streets of Seattle gleamed like shattered glass under the sodium lamps as Wade gripped the handlebars of his battered road bike, pedaling harder against the downpour that always seemed to chase him home. His heart hammered not just from the incline of Queen and Hill, but from the secret he'd buried for months, the one that made his palms sweat even in the chill November air. He didn't see the delivery truck until it was too late, its brakes screeching like a scream in the night as it clipped his rear wheel and sent him flying, the world inverting in a blur of asphalt and agony. When Wade came to, the sterile white lights of Harborview Medical Center pierced his skull like accusations. Tubes snaked into his arms, monitors beeping a monotonous dirge, and there, leaning over him with steady hands and eyes like polished mahogany, was Dr. Julian Reyes. "Easy now," Julian murmured, his voice a low rumble that cut through the fog of painkillers, his touch feather-light as he adjusted the four. "You've got a cracked rib and a nasty gash on your leg, but you're going to be just fine. I'm Dr. Reyes. Call me Julian if it makes this less like a bad dream." Wade blinked up at him, chest tight not from the injury, but from the way Julian's dark curls fell forward, framing a face that belonged on billboards, not in emergency rooms. Strong jaw, warm olive skin, a smile that promised absolution. That night, as the morphine wove its haze, Wade dreamed of hands that healed and eyes that saw straight through to the parts of him he'd hidden since high school hallways in Tacoma, where whispers of fag had taught him to lock away his heart. He woke to Julian checking his chart at dawn, the doctor's fingers brushing his wrist in a way that lingered a beat too long. "You're a fighter, Elias," Julian said, his gaze holding steady. "Most people would have cursed the rain. You just asked for your bike." Wade managed a weak laugh, but inside, something cracked open, a fissure where light slipped in, warm and terrifying. Over the next few weeks, Wade became a reluctant regular in Julian's orbit. Follow-up appointments stretched into conversations that meandered like the Duwamish River. Julian's tales of growing up in East Los Angeles, trading taquitos for textbooks to escape the pull of the streets. Wade quieter stories of foggy mornings in Puget Sound, sketching driftwood on the beaches of Alki while his fisherman dad pretended not to notice his son's sketches of boys instead of boats. Julian listened like it was his job to map the contours of Wade's soul, his laughter a rare bloom that made the fluorescent-lit exam rooms feel like hidden groves. One afternoon, as Wade hobbled in on crutches for a stitch removal, Julian paused mid-snip, his scissors hovering. "You know, you remind me of this old jazz record my abuela played, full of bends and unexpected turns, but always swinging back to the truth." Wade breath caught, the air between them thickening with the scent of antiseptic and unspoken want. He wanted to say it then, to spill the words that had been pooling in his gut. "I think I'm falling for you," document hard. But fear clamped his throat. Memories of his ex, Tyler, who had sworn love in whispered motel rooms only to vanish when the world got too real. Instead, Wade joked about the Mariners' latest losing streak, and Julian chuckled, oblivious or perhaps willfully blind. Seattle's relentless drizzle mirrored Wade's mounting ache as winter deepened. He started lingering after appointments, nursing coffee in the hospital cafeteria just to catch glimpses of Julian striding through the halls in his white coat, stethoscope dangling like a talisman. One evening, after a grueling shift, Julian found him there, slumped over a lukewarm latte. "Can't stay away, huh?" Julian teased, sliding into the booth with a tray of cafeteria slop that somehow looked gourmet in his hands. They talked until the lights dimmed, about the ache of family expectations, Julian's abuela's rosary beads clinking against her hospital bed as she faded, Wade Mom's shipping care packages of clam chowder mix from Olympia like it could mend the silence between them. In those stolen hours, Wade glimpsed the man behind the healer, Julian, who volunteered at a queer youth center in Capitol Hill, his voice softening when he spoke of kids like the boy he'd been, hiding crushes on the soccer captain under layers of machismo. "Faith's a funny thing," Julian said once, tracing the rim of his cup. "Grows up Catholic, you learn to confess sins you haven't even committed. But love? That's the real sacrament. No absolution needed." Wade's pulse thrummed, his fingers itching to reach across the table, to bridge the gap with a touch that said everything words couldn't. Yet doubt gnawed at him like the winter wind off Elliott Bay. Was this real, or just the gratitude of a man saved from the brink? Wade pored over Julian's sparse social media, posts of sunsets over the Olympics, dog-eared books on empathy and medicine, a rare photo of him at Pride, with a rainbow flag draped like a cape. No boyfriend tagged, no hints of entanglement. Still, Wade passed whispered warnings. The betrayal in Portland, where his college lover, Mason, had ghosted him after a drunken confession to friends, leaving Wadetto piece together his shattered trust with late-night runs along the Willamette. Spring teased Seattle with tentative blooms as Wade's final appointment loomed. His rib had healed crooked, a reminder etched in bone. But his heart? That was a battlefield. He spent nights in his cramped Capitol Hill apartment, staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin, scripting confessions in his journal. Julian, you've mended more than my body. You've made me believe in second chances. By May, with cherry blossoms dusting the sidewalks like confetti, he couldn't delay anymore. He pinned a note on the back of a takeout menu. Simple, raw. Meet me after your shift? There's something I need to say. He folded it into Julian's pocket during a routine check, his fingers brushing the doctor's hip, electric as a live wire. The day arrived like a verdict. Wade paced his apartment in Ridgefield Lofts, the building's exposed brick walls closing in, his reflection in the rain-streaked window showing a man teetering on the edge. Hazel eyes wide with terror and hope, stubble shadowing his jaw like unresolved regret. He dressed in his best, slim jeans that hugged his runner's legs, a button-down the color of Puget fog, leather jacket slung over one shoulder. The note burned in his pocket like a prayer. Harborview's lobby buzzed with the end-of-day exodus, nurses and scrubs herding clipboards, visitors clutching wilting flowers. Wade heart jackhammered as he texted Julian, outside the east entrance. Take your time. Minutes stretched like taffy. He leaned against a concrete pillar, inhaling the mingled scents of wet pavement and hospital exhaust, rehearsing the words, I love you. Not like a patient, like a man who's been half alive until you. When Julian emerged, coat unbuttoned, curls tousled from a long day, Wade's resolve nearly crumbled. Hey, Julian called, weaving through the crowd with that easy stride, his smile a beacon. You look like you're about to bolt a marathon. Wade laughed, shaky, stepping forward to pull him into the shadows of the portico. I wrote it down, but screw that. Julian, these months, you've been my anchor in this storm of a city. I think I'm in love with you. The words hung there, vulnerable as exposed film. Julian's eyes widened, a flicker of something unreadable crossing his face. Joy? Panic? He reached out, cupping Wade's cheek, thumb tracing the scar. Elias. God. But his pager shattered the moment, shrill and insistent. Emergency in cardiology. Rain check? Meet me in the staff lounge in 10? I need to handle this fast. Wade nodded, pulse roaring, watching Julian vanish back into the fluorescent maw. The lounge was tucked in a quiet wing, all vending machines and sagging couches, a sanctuary for the weary. Wade slipped in after an eternity of pacing, the door clicking shut behind him like a seal on fate. Voices murmured from the adjoining bathroom, low, intimate. He froze, then edged closer, heart plummeting as recognition dawned. Through the cracked door, steam curled like smoke signals. Julian stood there, shirt unbuttoned to his navel, water beading on his chest as he leaned into the sink, laughing softly. But it wasn't alone. Pressed against him from behind, hands roaming possessively over Julian's hips, was Carter Voss, the smug ortho resident Wade had seen flirting shamelessly during visits, all blonde hair, and Ivy League smirk. Carter's lips grazed Julian's neck, whispering, Missed this, babe. That patient's puppy eyes? Cute, but you're mine. Julian turned, pulling Carter into a kiss that devoured the air. Deep, hungry, the kind that left no room for ghosts like Elias. The world tilted. Wade's knees buckled, while rising as the scene seared into his retinas. Julian's hands fisting Carter's hair, their bodies entwined in a dance of betrayal that mocked every shared coffee, every lingering glance. Faith, in love, in himself, shattered like the rain-lashed window panes outside. He backed away, silent as a shadow, fleeing into the night where Seattle's lights blurred through tears he hadn't earned. The rain came down in sheets now, soaking Wadetto the bone as he stumbled toward his bike, chain forgotten under the awning. His hands shook unlocking it, the metal cold and unforgiving. Puppy eyes. The words echoed, a knife twist. How many times had Julian's warmth been a performance, a diversion from this? Wade mounted up, pedaling blindly down Yesler Way, the hill's descent a reckless freefall mirroring his gut. By the time he reached his apartment, the adrenaline crash hit like a freight train. He collapsed onto the threadbare couch, the note, his confession, crinkling in his pocket like a death warrant. The room spun, Posters of Elliott-based sunsets mocking his solitude, the half-empty sketchpad where he'd doodled Julian's profile in stolen moments. Rage bubbled first, hot and righteous. How dare he? Then curdled into a deeper wound, the old scar of rejection reopening. Tyler's ghost joined the fray, whispering that Wade was always the fool, the one who loved too fiercely in a world that doled it out in scraps. He poured a tumbler of bourbon from the bottle his sister had sent from Spokane, the burn doing little to dull the ache. Flashes replayed. Julian's laugh in the cafeteria, the brush of fingers during exams, the way he'd said truth, like it was a promise. Lies, all of it. Wade scrolled his phone, thumb hovering over Julian's contact. Delete? Block? Before hurling it across the room. It clattered against the wall, screen cracking like his resolve. Dawn crept in gray and indifferent, finding Wade curled on the floor, sketchpad open to a half-finished portrait of Julian's eyes. He tore it out, crumpling it with the note, and lit a match from the emergency kit. The flames danced low in the sink, consuming paper and pretense, smoke curling like the steam from that damned bathroom. By noon, he called in sick to his graphic design gig at the ad agency, voice raw as he mumbled about a migraine. Truth was, the real pain sat heavier, a stone in his chest where hope had lodged. He wandered Capitol Hill that afternoon, the neighborhood's vibrant pulse a cruel contrast. Queer flags fluttering from balconies, couples entwined under umbrellas at Broad Street cafes. Wade ducked into a dive bar called the Rusty Anchor, all dark wood and jukebox croons, nursing a pint until the edges softened. There, a stranger slid onto the stool beside him. Finn Harlow, a tattooed barista with ink-sleeved arms and a crooked grin, eyes sharp as the Pacific gales. Rough night? Finn asked, clinking glasses without invitation. Wade shrugged, the story spilling out in fragments. Doctor, love, betrayal, punctuated by swigs that loosened the knot. Finn listened without pity, his own scars visible in the faded rainbow on his forearm. Sounds like he was playing house with your heart, Finn said, voice gravelly from years of Seattle's smoky nights. But you're the one who showed up authentic. That's power, man. Don't let one asshole dim that. They talked until last call, Finn's hand steady on Wade's shoulder, a lifeline in the fog. For the first time since the shatter, Wade felt seen, not as the broken patient, but as a man whole in his fractures. Word from Julian came that evening, a voicemail Wade deleted without listening, the buzz of his phone a wasp in the quiet. But curiosity won. He replayed it later, Julian's voice strained. Elias, I saw your text. About the lounge, something came up. Call me, please. The plea twisted the knife, but Wade let it bleed out, drafting a response he never sent. Saw enough. Keep your emergencies. Instead, he texted Finn, coffee tomorrow? Need to plot a comeback. Days blurred into a haze of avoidance. Wade threw himself into work, designing logos for local breweries that evoked Puget Sound's wild heart, the rhythm of deadlines a bomb. Julian's calls tapered, then stopped, replaced by awkward waves in the hospital lobby when Wade picked up his final scripts from the pharmacy. Each sighting was a fresh bruise. Julian's eyes searching, mouth opening as if to explain, but Wade turned away, chin lifted, reclaiming the space between them. Finn became a constant, their coffee meetups evolving into hikes along Discovery Park's trails, where ferns whispered secrets and the Salish Sea stretched endless. Finn's stories of coming out in a conservative logging town up in Bellingham, the bar fight that earned him a chipped tooth, mirrored Wade's own guarded youth. One evening, as they sat on a driftwood log watching ferries slice the horizon, Finn turned, his hand finding Wade. You're not shattered, Elias. You're mosaic, beautiful in the breaks. The kiss that followed was tentative, tasting of salt air and second chances, a spark that warmed without demanding. But ghosts lingered. A week later, at a Pride after-party in a warehouse loft off Pike Street, Wade spotted Carter across the throng, blonde head thrown back in laughter, arms slung around a new conquest. Rage simmered, propelling Wade forward through the crush of bodies and bass-thumped remixes. Hey, Voss, he called, voice steady as steel. Carter turned, smirk faltering. Harper? Didn't peg you for the scene. Funny. Wade shot back, hazel eyes locked like lasers. Pegged you for the faithful type. Guess we both misread the chart. The crowd hushed around them, tension crackling. Carter's face flushed, defensiveness sharpening his jaw. Look, man, Julian and I, it's complicated. On again, off like Seattle weather. You were just collateral. The word landed like a slap. Collateral. Wade's fists clenched, but Finn materialized at his side, a grounding palm on his back. Walk away, Finn murmured. He's not worth the ink on your skin. Wade did. The night air cooling his flush as they spilled onto the street. Laughter bubbling up unbidden, cathartic, freeing. Confrontation brewed, inevitable. Wade found Julian outside the youth center one humid June dusk, the doctor handing out water bottles to kids practicing cheers for the parade. Julian's face lit with that unguarded joy, then crumpled as Wade approached. I owe you an explanation, Julian started, stepping into the alley's shadow, voice low. Carter and I, we were over months ago. That night, it was closure. Stupid, reckless closure. But your note, your words, I was going to say it back. Wade's laugh was bitter fog. In the lounge, or after you'd washed off his cologne. Julian winced, reaching out, but Wade stepped back, the alley's brick wall cold at his shoulders. I believed in you, Julian. Not the doctor, the man who saw me. Turns out, I was just the patient with the crush. Tears tracked Julian's cheeks, mahogany eyes pleading. It wasn't like that. I've been scared, of losing control, of what loving you fully means in this job, this life. But I do. God, Elias, I love you. The confession hung, a lifeline or a noose. Wade's chest heaved, the war inside raging. Pull him close, or let go. I saw faith in you. Wade whispered finally, voice cracking. But faith isn't blind. It's choosing to see, even when it hurts. He turned, walking into the twilight, Julian's sob echoing faint behind him. The city enveloped him, horns blaring, laughter spilling from bars, a symphony of lives unfolding without permission. Summer unfurled in golden haze, Wade and Finn's bond deepening like roots in loamy soil. They road tripped to the San Juan Islands, camping under stars that wheeled vast and indifferent. Finn's body a map Wade learned by touch, tattoos telling tales of resilience, kisses sealing promises of presence. Yet Julian haunted the edges, a chance sighting at the market, buying heirloom tomatoes with a quiet grace. A mutual friend's offhand mention of his abuela's passing, the doctor adrift in grief. Wade wrestled the pull, journaling feverishly. Love isn't ownership. It's the grace to let fly. One crisp October morning, as leaves turned the arboretum to fire, he drove to Harborview. Not for confrontation, but closure. Julian was in the garden courtyard, feeding pigeons with mechanical motions, white coat discarded on a bench. He looked up, startled, then soft. Elias. No words this time, Wade said, sitting beside him, the space between vast yet shrinking. Just, I'm sorry for running, and for believing you owed me perfection. Julian's hand trembled as it found Wade, tentative. I owed you truth. From the start. They talked then, hours unraveling like old film reels. Julian's tangled history with Carter, a college flame reignited by loneliness. His fear of vulnerability in a white coat that demanded detachment. The way Wade's quiet strength had cracked his armor. You taught me confession isn't just words, Julian admitted, voice thick. It's showing the scars. As the sun dipped, painting the courtyard in amber, Wade leaned in, forehead to forehead. Maybe faith isn't shattered. Maybe it's reforged. Their lips met, slow, exploratory, tasting of forgiveness and the salt of what was lost. Not a fairy tale ending, but a human one, messy, mended, alive with possibility. In the months that followed, Wade and Julian navigated the fragile new. Stolen dinners in Julian's Belltown loft overlooking the Sound, where vinyl spun Miles Davis and bodies learned the language of trust. Finn stepped back with grace, becoming the friend who toasted at their first awkward double date. Wade's sketches filled with light, portraits of Julian asleep, Abuela's rosary glinting on the nightstand, abstracts of Seattle's veins, pulsing with queer heartbeats. Betrayal's shadow lingered, a reminder etched like Wade's crooked rib, but it taught mercy, for Julian's flaws, for his own tender wounds. At a winter solstice gathering in the youth center, surrounded by kids who'd found their voices, Wade watched Julian lead a workshop on identity, his passion a quiet revolution. Later, under mistletoe strung haphazardly, Julian pulled him close. To us, he whispered. To choosing each other every damn day. Wade smiled, the city's lights twinkling beyond the frosted windows like stars reclaimed. In the end, love wasn't a confessional booth or a bathroom mirror's cruel reveal. It was this, the raw, redemptive act of showing up, scars and all, in a world that dared you to hide.